Hi and welcome back to my channel. First off, I do need to mention I know the audio is a little bit bad. My microphone broke down last week when I was filming the recipes videos and it's getting fixed right now. I don't know when it's going to be back. I hope it's going to be soon, so I apologize for the audio, but I hope you can still enjoy the video. Then on the topic, which you've probably seen in the title, is big book fear. And I've noticed that it's actually a lot of people who just don't enjoy reading, like maybe not enjoying, but like are kind of like, they're really big, I don't know if I want to do this. And that's totally fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like just being kind of taken aback by big books. I know I am sometimes, but I do enjoy reading them, and I started thinking about this, like, why do I enjoy reading them? Like, some of them I do, some of them I don't, and why do I not necessarily have a problem of picking them up? So I just want to give a few tips to why I don't necessarily have that big of a problem with this. Doesn't mean all the time, because there are definitely big books like this one. It's so big and I don't know why I bought it. I mean, I know why I bought it because I thought pretty cover. I read, like, it was like this in the stand and I just quickly turned it, read the back, and I was like, oh, sounds like an interesting story. Paid for it, picked it up, and then I realized my mistake. And this seller's just me like, you know, it's a big one. I'm like, yeah, it is. Thank you. And it's been in my bookcase for the past good 2 years, just waiting to be read. It's so big, and like, trust me, this one is like, no, I don't wanna. It's so big. It's like, I just looked at it, it's almost 1100 pages. Anyways, but to be more concerned, I generally have to say for myself, it's about 500 pages where I'm like, now we're getting really big. I don't know necessarily how interested I am in reading them. I know for some people it's like 200 pages or 300. It's totally fine. So, like I said, I started thinking about why I do read some bigger books and not others, and why I don't always have a problem with them. And one of the first tips that I have is try to look into audiobooks or ebooks. I think for me, it's also just the sheer size of them that I'm like, really big, and I'm like, I can't really take this with me. Like, it's not easy to put in your bag. Like, I grabbed a few big books out of my bookcase. Like, for example, I have this one. Like, you can't just put this in your bag. It's very solid. It's really big. And if I'm like going with a friend somewhere and we come from different sides to destination, I'm waiting. It's like, I want to read something because sometimes I'm a little bit earlier or what's going on. I'm like, I'm not gonna drag a whole book along with me, you know? So having an ebook or an audiobook just solves that issue. And I think by not seeing the size, it just feels a lot less daunting. I know it does for me, because I remember reading ebooks like on my phone, often just on my phone or on a laptop. I don't own an actual e-reader. And then going to a bookstore and seeing the book and its size, it's like, whoa, that's what I read? Oh no, that's a lot more than I thought. And just by how quickly it went. And also audiobooks, they're just easy. I generally just put them in when I'm on my commute or grocery shopping or just cleaning the house or doing like those small tasks that don't require a lot of like thinking, like a lot of attention. But so it's easier to just listen to the book, just keep going, and you know, you don't have to listen to the whole thing in like a day or something. It can take quite a while, and it's totally fine to just go in and out of it, which also brings me to the second tip. It's like, don't feel like you have to read them super quickly in like 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It can take you a while, and it's fine. Like, I generally, lastly, I read like a really big book, like 500-600 pages, and it took me like 8 months, and I mean, I wasn't mad at it. Like, sometimes I slightly had to get back into it, but it was not a problem. Like, after 2-3 pages, I was back into it. I would read a piece, and then I was like, okay, I'm kind of done, it's quite a lot, or I got really busy and just, like I said, couldn't take it with me because it was a physical copy, and just placed it down and maybe started reading another book and then got back into it like a few weeks later. So yeah, don't feel pressure to just read them very quickly. If it takes you a while, it's fine. Like, they're a really big book, the story is very long, obviously, so going in and out of it isn't really a problem. So don't feel the pressure to just read it very quickly. Like, don't expect it to read it as quickly as like a book of 150 pages, because it's not the same. And it's like, if I want to read 150 pages the same time that I do the smaller books, then like 150 pages to bigger books and the same time that you read a smaller one of 150 pages, then that's normal. It can get tiring, and it's totally fine to just kind of leave it be for a little bit. And also, what I noticed a lot recently, which is my third tip, is that I just read 2 or 3 books at the same time, generally 2, which one of them is like a bigger story, larger book, and next to that I just read shorter novels, just because it's a lot easier, and generally they're very different genres as well. Like, if I would read a really big fantasy book, then I would decide for a smaller classic or romance novel, just because I enjoy those books, especially the romance novel. So I enjoy having very opposite genres in that. And because if the big book's like really heavy, it's usually very heavy, they're very long storylines, a little bit more complicated, and if you the smaller books are often a lot easier to read. For example, like romance novels are just nice to read. They don't, have this extremely complicated storyline, and mixing them up just keeps like from what heavier books to a lot lighter books, and it just works. In a sense, initially I was like super against like do one book at a time to keep your focus on that one, but I just realized like that's not a realistic standpoint to take, especially not if I read a lot of bigger books. Like, I just do not have a lot of the time to like read very consistently. So what I do is just mix it up, and it works, and I just get through the big books also a lot faster, because otherwise I would just read it and just like, oh, it's so much. Okay, never mind, I'm done, I'm just gonna do something else, and then I would just not read, and then you would get into your reading slump, because consistently, if you have to look at a book like this and just reading like, okay, I'm just kind of done with the story, it's a bit much, I have so much left to read, leave it, and I would do something else, and then I would just not read anything else, because I told myself and myself to like, you have to read this one book first before you can move on to the next one. And just by kind of not doing that anymore, I'm reading a lot more, and I'm also going through my bigger books a lot faster. The fourth tip I think that I think it's the fourth, is if you want to start reading bigger books, just start with genres that you like. For example, my big books mostly are fantasy genre, because I enjoy reading those. Like, I enjoy the world building, I enjoy the often different characters and the life and death choices that they have to make, and I'm very interested in that. And also like the epic battle scenes, like those are things that I know I really enjoy and I'm very invested in. So when I want to read a lot of bigger books, those are the main big books that I read. Also, like I just showed, this is like Dostoevsky is a bigger one. I read it because I bought it as like, okay, I want to read one of his books. People say they like it, I'm interested, and it's just been looking on there in my bookcase for over a year now. So yeah, I haven't read it yet. Also, I just read the back of it before I started reading it. I was like, I don't quite know how much I would enjoy this. I think I will, but it also is probably a book that I really have to get into. And I think I bought it because I just finished A Gentleman in Moscow, and it's just like, I want to read more book in historical Russia because it sounds really cool, and I want to read more about that. And then the first book that I saw was this one. I'll definitely read it one day, but like I said, I'll probably not read it in one go, and I'll probably intersect it with other books. So yeah, I think for example, when I read this one, I got it in the mail and I was kind of surprised by the size, but I read through this really fast. Like, I read this one in a week, and I know that I will not read Dostoevsky within a week. Like, I probably won't. Like, obviously anything is possible, but knowing myself and that this kind of out of the genre that I usually love reading, I probably won't go through it within a week. Whereas I know fantasy young adult genre, I do read very quickly because, you know, so like, if you want to start reading books, start in your favorite genres. And almost every genre does have like bigger novels and bigger books. And also I think that's another one, which I don't think I've mentioned yet, is slowly build it up. Like, if you love, like, for example, crime novels, and which I think very interesting, and I do enjoy reading them from time to time. You know, if 200-300 pages is a lot and you think that's really good, don't buy one that's almost 1100. So that's just it. Like, just buy one, like, maybe amp it up. If 300 pages is a lot for you, read 300, 350, 400, or slowly build it up. I think every genre does have books with a certain amount of pages that everyone kind of can get used to, and just slowly build it up. Don't, like, it's fine if you don't immediately, like, I want to read a bigger book, so it has to be at least 800 pages. No, everyone has their own comfort zone, and slowly building yourself out of it is totally fine. If you want to throw yourself in the deep end and just, like, get a book of 800, 900, 1,000 pages, that's fine too. But, like, it's not a necessity to get into bigger books. Like, you can definitely just slowly build it up. And then the next one, I wrote it down, so that's why I'm looking down. Another one that I've really noticed is that, for example, on Goodreads, you can put your challenge, like the amount of books you want to read. And I know for mine, I put it on this year at like 52, so it's 1 book a week. I'm also like 5 behind right now, which I'm still very proud of, because that's a lot more than I read last year. But I'm also recognizing I'm 5 books behind. And initially when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm 5 books behind, I should speed up, I should read a lot of smaller books. And then I think, you know what, no I don't. I want to read books that I enjoy, and if I don't reach the number that I set for myself for this challenge, that's fine, because I want to read the books that I know I'm going to enjoy or that are really good. Because ultimately, when it comes to books, it should be about quality over quantity. And I think, you know, some people have a lot more time or can speed read like insane. And I'm not that person. I don't speed read. Like, I'm a relatively slow reader, and that's just how I enjoy doing it. And that's my style of reading. And if you're a speed reader, I mean, amazing. But it's fine too, and I think you have to figure out kind of what kind of stories you like and how much time you actually have on your hands. And don't get caught up in the numbers. I think that's something that a lot of people have to do. It's like, I have to reach this goal, I have to reach this challenge. And I think, you know, it's about the story and not the amount of books that you've read. I think ultimately, if you look back at a year, like, for people who've like read 200 books in a year, which is insane, I'm 100% sure those people exist, but like, you know, they won't be able to mention like all 200 books that I've read. Like, they won't love every book equal amount. They'll have like a select few that they love, and I think by focusing more on stories that you love, or just realizing that there are books or stories out there that even if they're a little bit bigger, you know, and you say like, okay, it might be bigger and I'm kind of terrified of it, and it will take me longer and it might not reach my goal, I will enjoy the story more than these 2 smaller ones that I'm like kind of meh on, you know? I think that's very important. Like, it's great if you reach your goal, but don't get caught up in it and then, you know, consequently just stray away from bigger books because you want to reach a set amount of numbers. Like, this year I just read a few like bigger books because I wanted to enjoy them, and I thought these are stories that I want to read, and some of them have been very anticipated reads for me, and that meant that I couldn't like read a book every week, like once a week, and that's fine because I enjoy the story and I'm not regretful about it. But yeah, if I like did notice that some people do feel kind of pressured into it, or feel like I have to read a certain amount to be considered like an avid reader. And you know what? If you read like 1 page a week, you're still a reader, and it's totally fine, and don't worry about it. You know, it's not, it's about the quality and how much you enjoy it. And if your enjoyment is reading like a lot of books, like 100, 200 books a year, then that's fine, as long as you enjoy it. And if you enjoy, if the enjoyment like stops, if you have to read more than 20 a year, then don't read more than 20 a year. Like, it's fine if you don't, you know, like, just what I'm trying to say is, like, don't feel pressured to think that you're not a reader or that you're not enough of a book lover if you just don't read a set amount, or feel pressured into reading excessive amount of books, because then, only then, are you validated as like a reader or a bookworm. If you enjoy books, if that's hundreds, if that's only like 10 or 8, then that's also fine. I think if you love a book, even if it's just one, you love books, and that's fine. Like, a book lover, it's singular, it's focused obviously on a person, but I mean, I think, you know, I don't know, I just see it a lot where a lot of people feel very pressured to read and to feel like only then are they validated in that aspect, and that's just not true. I don't believe that, and I don't agree with it at all. If you just enjoy books for what it is, and if that's a lot or a little, it's both fine. Just, I think both are equally validated in loving books and loving stories. So yeah. And then, I don't know, maybe the last one tip. No, I think that is. So what is, I was like, start with ebooks and audiobooks. Like, I think taking away the physical, like, this is a lot more intimidating to me than a phone, and I could just read equal amounts, and for me it works. So ebooks and audiobooks are definitely taking away the physical aspect of big books, so I think that's a good one. Start reading in your favorite genre. It helps to know which genre you like and what kind of stories you love, and if you can find a bigger novel in that genre, you know, I think it's better to start that than start with a genre that you're not super at home with or you don't necessarily love, because then you kind of associate that with big books. And I think starting with your favorite genre is just a way of slowly easing yourself into something out of your comfort zone in a way that you still enjoy doing it. Then, like, again, don't make it about the numbers, how much often you have to read, or don't feel pressured to read a certain amount of books or having to read really big books to be validated. It's, like I said, about quality, not quantity. It's like how much you enjoy the story rather than how many stories you've actually read. It's totally fine to, you know, not read a lot of books. Just enjoy the story that you're reading in whatever, like, just enjoy the story in whatever amount of pages that they are, and it's totally fine if that's 100 or if that's 800. It's about the story. And also another one, don't, like, read it in, like, don't feel pressured to read it in, like, one go, like, very quickly. If you want to take several months about it, it's fine. And also, like, the last one that I said was just disperse with, like, different novels. Like, for me, it gave me a little breathing air if the big book was, like, getting a bit too much, or I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired of the story and I have so many pages left. By just, you know, exchanging it temporarily with, like, a shorter novel, or just ones that are just a lot easier to read for me, I was able to keep going in the bigger books as well. Like, don't have to consistently really, I don't know, just don't read it in one go. Like, it's fine if you don't. So yeah, that was kind of it. I hope it kind of helps you and makes you feel a little bit less pressured to read bigger books, because I think I understand the very daunting aspect. I have it too when I get them in my hands the first time, and there are definitely ones that are just not worth it, and there are definitely a lot of them that are worth it, but I think that we often put a lot of pressure ourselves by reading bigger books, and sometimes you kind of have to go through that. But yeah, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, comment, like, and subscribe. I think, like I say in a lot of other YouTubers, it does really help out with the algorithm if you help me out do those things. So yeah, and then I'll see you guys again next week. Bye!